every verse too real. Shadows in the alley, whispers and smoke. Cipher of the killers where the doctrine spoke. Concrete wet with the blood of lines. Scriptures cut sharp in these fatal rhymes. Cassette rewind, bring the sermon alive. Backstreet prophets teach the block to survive. Backstreet execution flow, sharp and raw. Every verse written in the ghetto law. Backstreet execution flow, blood and creed. Cipher of the killers make the pavement bleed. Backstreet execution flow, sharp and raw. Every verse written in the ghetto law. Backstreet execution flow, blood and creed. Cipher of the killers make the pavement bleed. Silhouette move with the steel in hand. Razor edge gospel, the hood understand. Boom bap sermons carved in the scars. Execution doctrine played on tape bars. Street lights flicker but the beat don't die. Prophets in the cipher let the bloodlines cry. Every scratch sacred, every cut divine. Backstreet execution, eternal line. Backstreet execution flow, sharp and raw. Every verse written in the ghetto law. Backstreet execution flow, blood and creed. Cipher of the killers make the pavement bleed. Backstreet execution flow, sharp and raw. Every verse written in the ghetto law. Backstreet execution flow, blood and creed. Cipher of the killers make the pavement bleed. Pavement testify with the screams at night. Raise the scripture echo when the blade ignite. Cassette of the dead still spinning in code. Backstreet sermon on the killing road. Execution broadcast on the block so grim. Lyrics slice deeper when the lights go dim. Legacy eternal, carved in the stone. Backstreet execution, creed we own.
Ain't no mercy, only the blade. Ain't no silence, just the creed replayed.
Backstreet execution flow, sharp and raw. Every verse written in the ghetto law. Backstreet execution flow, blood and creed. Cipher of the killers make the pavement bleed. Backstreet execution flow remain. Sharp like razors, blood in the vein. Flow remain. Blood in the vein. Blood in the vein. Cipher on a knife's edge, balance in the night. Rhyme cut veins when the blade ignite. Backstreet sermons where the shadows pray. Every verse sharpened, every bar slay. Blood dripping rhythm, gospel and scars. Cipher of assassins spit truth through bars. Steel-tongued prophets, they speak with flame. Every edge scripture, every cut a name. Cipher on a knife's edge, raw and cold. Boom, boom, bap, gospel from the alleys untold. Cipher on a knife's edge, sharp and real. Backstreet doctrine carved in steel. Blades in the circle, steel kiss the block. Every swing sermonized, ticking like clock. Concrete the altar, pavement the choir. Bars burn crimson, the cipher on fire. Tape hiss sacred, distortion bleed. Knife edge verses cut deep, what we need. No silence and shadows, just whispers that bite. Cipher eternal in the edge of night. Cipher on a knife's edge, raw and cold. Boom bap gospel from the alleys untold. Cipher on a knife's edge, sharp and real. Backstreet doctrine carved in steel. Unforgiven blocks, doctrine and chrome. Knife edge scriptures bring the prophets home. Side of confession, side be revenge. Cipher on the blade where the echoes avenge. Legacy of blood, legacy of sound. Boom bap prophets cut raw underground. Balance in the cipher, shadow in the creed. Knife edge rhymes, the block still bleed. The blade don't lie, they carve what's true. Cipher on the edge, still cutting through. Cipher on a knife's edge, raw and cold. Boom bap gospel from the alleys untold. Cipher on a knife's edge, sharp and real. Backstreet doctrine carved in steel. Shadows and steel, cipher remain. Knife edge eternal, blood in the brain. Blood in the brain. Blood in the brain. Sharp tongue manifesto, blade in the rhyme. Every word cut deep, sacred in time.
Ghetto preachers spit fire in the creed. Manifesto of blood for the blocks in need. Concrete testify with echoes so raw. Backstreet prophets keep the cipher law. Knives in the sermon, scars in the beat. Sharp tongue doctrine born in the street. Sharp tongue manifesto cut with flame. Every raw scripture etched the name. Sharp tongue manifesto, blood on flow. Backstreet prophets let the doctrine show. Verses of violence, bars of pain. Doctrine of assassins carved in vain. Silhouettes move through alleys and code. Manifesto of killers on the razor road. Tape is sacred, vinyl bleed truth. Sharp tongue sermons still spit uncouth. Every hook deadly, every rhyme scar. Backstreet scripture shine like a star. Sharp tongue manifesto cut with flame. Every raw scripture etched the name. Sharp tongue manifesto, blood on flow. Backstreet prophets let the doctrine show. This ain't rap, it's a weapon in hand. Sharp tongue doctrine, the streets understand. Every syllable slice, every vowel bleed. Manifesto of the killers, plant the seed. Cassette rewind, echo, razor edge preach. Concrete sermons that the prophets teach. From shadows eternal, the creed don't die. Sharp tongue manifesto in the night sky. Every word a cut, every verse a scar. Manifesto sharp, that's who we are. Sharp tongue manifesto cut with flame. Every raw scripture etched the name. Sharp tongue manifesto, blood on flow. Backstreet prophets let the doctrine show. Tongue like a razor, scripture alive. Manifesto eternal, the block survive. Pavement raising scriptures carved in night. Every bar sliced deep, every rhyme take flight. Blood drip rhythm, the street choir hum. Backstreet doctrine where the killers come. Still kiss concrete, sparks in the creed. Every line sharpened for the blocks in need. Cipher of blades, gospel and scars. Boom bap prophets spit truth through bars. Pavement raising scriptures cut in flame. Concrete gospel, backstreet name. Pavement raising scriptures sharp and raw. Verses of the killers, street hood law. Back alley prophets with razors in hand. Write the scriptures, the hood understand. Sidewalks bleed when the rhyme ignite. Testament of steel in the dead of night. Cassette hits holy, scratches divine. Every cut scripture in a sacred line. From block to block, the sermons flow. Pavement razor verses that the killers know. Pavement razor scriptures cut in flame. Concrete gospel, backstreet name. Pavement razor scriptures sharp and raw. Verses of the killers, street hood law. Scarred walls testify, knives preach loud. Every verse prophecy cipher, blood dripping cold. Backstreet prophets carve the killing road. Every bar sacred, every line a scar. Doctrine of assassins spit raw from afar. Steel tongue scripture sliced deep through the beat. Concrete testify where the shadows meet. Tape hiss gospel, scratches divine. Cipher of the crimson etched in time. Crimson blade cipher, sharp and raw. Backstreet gospel, the hood's true law. Crimson blade cipher, blood on the creed. Verses of the killers make the pavement bleed. Alleyway prophets, they knobs still gleam. Cipher in the shadows, nightmare dream. Bloodstained sermons painted on the block. Boom bap execution tick like a clock. Every wound rhythm, every scream a rhyme. Scriptures of the crimson stand against time. Blade don't lie, it preach what's real. Cipher immortal, carved in steel. Crimson blade cipher, sharp and raw. Backstreet gospel, the hood's true law. Crimson blade cipher, blood on the creed. Verses of the killers make the pavement bleed. Crimson blade cipher, sharp and raw. Backstreet gospel, the hood's true law. Crimson blade cipher, blood on the creed. Verses of the killers make the pavement bleed. Blocks hold secrets that the razors told. Cipher of the crimson worth more than gold. Every cut sermon, every scar a hymn. Doctrine of the killers never fade, never dim. Cassette rewind, echo, blade slice through. Cipher of the prophets tell what's true. Blood on the pavement, ghost in the rhyme. Crimson blade cipher eternal in time. This the cipher, carved in blood. This the gospel from the mud. Crimson blade cipher, sharp and raw. Backstreet gospel, the hood's true law. Crimson blade cipher, blood on the creed. Verses of the killers make the pavement bleed. Crimson in shadows, blade in the creed. Cipher eternal, the block still bleed. Crimson in shadows, blade in the creed. Cipher eternal, the block still bleed. Crimson in shadows, blade in the creed. Cipher eternal, the block still bleed. Crimson in shadows, blade in the creed. Cipher eternal, the block still bleed.
Cutthroat block chronicles, sharp and raw. Every tale written in the ghetto law. Cutthroat block chronicles, creed so cold. Voices of the killers in the shadows told. Cutthroat block chronicles, gospel in pain. Every line scripture carved deep in vein. Alleyway preachers hold knives, not books. Cipher of the killers where the concrete looks. Cassette rewind, spit sermons of crime. Cutthroat prophets chant verse in time. Backstreet doctrine, razor and creed. Chronicles of blood for the hood and need. Cutthroat block chronicles, sharp and raw. Every tale written in the ghetto law. Cutthroat block chronicles, creed so cold. Roses of the killers in the shadows told. Concrete stained red block whisper truth. Chronicles sacred from the streets of youth. Knives in the cipher, scars in the beat. Every deadly rhythm make the gospel complete. Street lights dim, but the sermon alive. Cutthroat doctrine help the hood survive. Bloodline legacy, razor edge mark. Chronicles of shadows, echo through dark. Cutthroat block chronicles, sharp and raw. Every tale written in the ghetto law. Cutthroat block chronicles, creed so cold. Verses of the killers in the shadows told. Stories of betrayal, tales of the slain. Cope rhyme echo like a ghost in chain. Alleyway scripture, carved in scars. Boom, bap, confession spit through bars. Cassette gospel hiss with deadly tone. Chronicles eternal on the block we own. Every verse murder, every hook decree. Cutthroat block saga live endlessly. This the chronicle of the cutthroat creed. This the scripture. The block still bleeds. Cutthroat block chronicles, sharp and raw. Every tale written in the ghetto law. Cutthroat block chronicles, creed so cold. Verses of the killers in the shadows told. Cutthroat legacy. Take the block eternal. Cutthroat chronicles bleed. The
Deadly verses and shadows, rhymes drip red. Every bar scripture, every line is dead. Concrete whisper secrets, hood ghost speak. Cipher of the killers with a steel technique. Tape his holy, scratches divine. Shadows recite sermons and razor lines. Pavement bleed ink, blood turn creed. Deadly verses echo what the killers need. Deadly verses and shadows, raw and true. Every rhyme written in the blood we knew. Deadly verses and shadows, sharp and cold. Cipher of the killers, let the story be told. Deadly verses and shadows, raw and true. Every rhyme written in the blood we knew. Deadly verses and shadows, sharp and cold. Cipher of the killers, let the story be told. Backstreet prophets move silent with knives. Verses of execution, scripture survives. Cassette rewind, bleed the truth we preach. Shadow gospel of the streets we teach. Every cut sacred, every hook scarred. Deadly rhymes testify in the graveyard. Blood on the pavement, creed in the block. Verses eternal while the shadows talk. Deadly verses